We have this from the New York Intelligencer. When Marjorie Taylor Greene says national divorce, she means another civil war. All right. Well, maybe. I don't think so. But there's a viral, it's trending on Twitter with now many conservatives and libertarians saying national divorce is a very, very bad idea because it would just mean that China stomps out what's left of the U.S. once we disassociate or break up. Some people are calling it a delusion, saying the country is mostly blue cities with red rural areas. My attitude is I don't know about need a national divorce. I know Michael Males talks quite a bit about it, but I just know that the divide between cities and rural areas, or red areas and blue areas, is so different. It is completely different dimensions of perception and reality. It is people in one state, in California, with open borders, with child sex changes, with limitless abortion. It is drifted so far away from where traditional Americans are, where even moderate, like liberal types are, that there's no bringing that back together. So you can argue we can't have a national divorce, and it's like, sure, how does a country exist when two states have laws that are so divergent and cultural views are so divergent, they're ready to start shooting each other? Right? So I don't know. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene's saying civil war.
No, she's attempting to avoid war at all costs. From what I've said, what she's told me is that she has kids and she does not want her kids fighting in a war to die. So she thinks that a national divorce could prevent a war. But I think it's short-sighted personally.
That's literally what the first Civil War was. The South attempted a peaceful divorce, saying, we signed it, we voted on it, we agreed on it, have a nice day. And the Union said, F no. We're sending in the troops, and then tried calling in troops, and then a bunch of other states joined. Check out this story from Timcast.com. Attacks on power grid up 71%. Officials say the number of politically or ideologically motivated attacks is growing. So, welcome to your daily, well, I don't think it's fair to call it a black pill. Here's why. Black pilling to me is like despair and depression, like it's all bad. And I don't think bad is the right word to describe a circumstance that just happens to be. Bad things are happening. Bad things happen. Good things happen after bad things. I mean, the Roman Empire collapsed. You had the Dark Ages, and then, we had a Renaissance, we had a Golden Age, things got better. I mean, granted, there were plagues and war and other things like that, but it's an ebb and flow. You can't expect all of life on the planet to always be sitting in your lounge chair, eating a bowl of nachos, watching a football game. There's gonna be hardship, especially when weak men make hard times, but then hard times will make strong men. What I see right now is we have the unfortunate privilege of being, all of you listening, the strong men in the weak time. In the bad time. Weak men have made a bad time, and we are now getting to what may be the bottom of it. Maybe it gets worse, but then it's going to require strong men, people like you watching, to do what it takes to fortify, defend, expand, protect the ideals that we care about. For all of the insanity in this country when it comes to the culture war, with far left psychotic individuals, with weird gender ideology, we all know that stuff can't survive. The Soviet Union lasted, 69 years? That's it? The United States has been around for over 250 some, 270 something? Mm-hmm. So, was it 250 something, right? So we've done a pretty good job, much better than the Soviet Union. Their union collapsed. In the event these lunatics start destroying our institutions, and they are, in the event the institutions crumble, their ideas will cease to exist because they only exist within the confines of this protective bubble. And then strong individuals will just pick things back up, get back to work, and preserve the ideals of individual liberty, freedom, etc.
Except what happened with Atlantis. There are situations where we could completely annihilate everything and start from the ground, start from rock bottom, literally the Stone Age, where we need to figure out how to carve metal with rock.
Yeah, but if that occurred, that wasn't self-inflicted.
That we know of, but it might have been. They might have had some sort of vibrational technology that lowered the Earth's magnetic field and allowed meteors to land on the planet. Who knows?
True.
It's the implosion annihilation as opposed to the explosion annihilation, which would be nuclear war. That's one possible. Maybe it was just coincidence. Maybe, but they could have used technology that annihilated them. There's no way to know.
But regardless, I mean, now we need to channel resources effectively towards the causes that we believe in And, some people call it parallel economy. There's this whole concept of a network state that Balaji has come up with, a really interesting book, sort of about how, social networks, online communities are going to crowdsource, particularly with crypto, because, that is a fully independent outside economic structure. And so we're already building up the parallel world, and it's going to happen simultaneously. Like this idea that there's going to be some sort of perfect collapse, and then it's just not all going to happen at once. It's going to happen slowly over time, and we're seeing the alternatives build up. So there's all kinds of sustainable conscious communities all over the world that are tuning in to how to do things the right way. So I think that what you're saying, Tim, the solutions are happening. It's slowly getting built up.
I'm really excited to do a Cast Castle Yellowstone parody about the Castle Ranch, and we're chicken ranchers, and they keep trying to steal our land. We'll go out and we'll herd the chickens. It'll be really funny.
I think it's nice to live through prosperous times, but I think as an individual you have more influence during difficult times, right? The way you choose to live your life during challenges, and the values that you choose to fight for, and the changes you choose to make for your life, right now, if this is a difficult time, they are more likely to determine the course of your personal history, as well as your family's history, as well as your community's history. I mean, this is the time that you have the chance to make the biggest difference just by the way you choose to live and demonstrate your values. I like
to a certain degree the hard times. I don't like the idea that people have to suffer. Like the idea of saying oh, hard times are great. It's like, yeah, that means people are doing really bad. It's like when Bill Maher said, if a recession will stop Trump, then bring on the recession. And that's like a horrible thing. But me personally, I prefer the active, not the inactive. And so maybe hard times isn't the right word. I like seeing people be logical and active in building their communities up, protecting them, figuring out how to make things work. That means going to meetings. It means struggle. It means to a certain degree conflict, like political conflict, not violence. I'm talking about going to a meeting and a guy like, no, your policy on this is wrong. I prefer a society of people who are constantly fighting for what is best, because it's the sedentary, it's the lazy, it's the inactive, which results in real hard times. When the food goes missing, when the crime runs rampant, that's what we're seeing right now. This is multiculturalism, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens when the utopia of multiculturalism comes to your country. This idea that they try to make it seem like multiculturalism is when people of different backgrounds all live together in harmony. What it really means is the values you have aren't shared by your neighbors, which means they don't know and they don't care about you. So when you say something like, I believe in free speech, they go, no. Then your government decides the lowest common denominator is the way things are to be run. And that means no free speech because then someone's going to get mad somewhere. No, we can't live that way. You got to maintain an overarching culture, a parent culture of the content we like, the things we agree on, the things we disagree on, the things that are illegal, the things that are legal. And then underneath that, say a U.S. Constitution that guarantees free speech. Oh, you can believe whatever you want to believe. You can live in an area called Ukrainian Village in Chicago or Chinatown, where you are mostly surrounded by people who come from the same place as you. You can speak about the ideas you want. Your culture can exist underneath the U.S. cultural umbrella. But this idea of multiculturalism, as they describe it, is basically U.S. culture next to, say, like Middle Eastern cultures, which they clash. Mm-hmm. Free speech and blasphemy laws, they don't go together.
It's like a melting pot with the temperature turned down. There's no melting.
Anybody knows who's making a cheese sauce. Certain cheeses are hard cheeses; they don't melt so well, right? So I did provolone cheddar with Cajun spice and Parmesan. But the Parmesan doesn't want to melt. And so you got a melting pot. It can work. Cheese sauce was delicious, but the Parmesan stayed solid, floating in the cheese.
We need to turn up the temperature culturally without sparking the nuclear temperature explosions. I'm talking about making people laugh and find joy and actually engage with their pain. And acknowledge it and let it happen.
I think people would have to want to participate then, right? Like if you have a culture that you love and you identify with and it's in conflict to U.S. values, why would you want to adopt U.S. values? If you're happy with the values of your society and your culture and everything about it, I mean, you have to there is some active participation. Like the idea of a melting pot is nice, and it's a good metaphor in a lot of respects, but it negates the fact that people have to actively choose to want to become part of the American cultural fabric. And I think that that's not true for everyone. I think being in a new geographic space isn't the same thing as wanting to be a part of a new experience, right? That's why when you talk about early immigration to America, I think of like Ellis Island and everything. Like there are people who had their cultures, but they also wanted to be here because there was a dream and there was a vision. And I don't know that our culture as a society has that same sort of desire to blend.
I think there's people all over Earth that would make better Americans than a lot of people that are in the country right now, that are actual citizens, because that's their beliefs are. I talk to them online. I have video chats with people in other countries that are smarter and more adept than the beer drinking football lovers. No offense if that's you, but if you got a beer gut, you're a problem. Fix it.
Well, and in terms of who is co-opting the culture, I mean, if you look at OpenAI and ChatGPT and like how and all the search engines, basically they are engineering culture. They're trying to, and so what's happening? I actually got ChatGPT to admit that it is using data that it doesn't have the rights to.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they admitted that they should not be using it commercially.
Yeah.
And because what are they doing? They're grabbing all data from everywhere that they can without permission. And in your data is all in there, feeding it, making it more valuable to them. So I think we need to sue OpenAI on some sort of class action lawsuit so that they share revenue with the people whose data they're actually using. And, we obviously need something that is uncensored on the side and unbiased, even though that is going to be a chaotic animal that is going to be just as offensive. But it does need to exist.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.